Hope. Hope is a defining factor across so many animes. None more prevalent than My Hero Academia. With that, I thought it would be perfect to give Izuku Midoriya a Hope Quirk. I hope you all do enjoy this video. Please comment your what if suggestions down in the comment section below, and enjoy. To begin this what if off, Izuku's quirk is basically like that of Superman's. He can fly, he has super strength, and even shoot lasers out of his eyes. However, these abilities are practically held behind a paywall. This paywall being hope. The more hope people have in Izuku, the stronger his abilities get, and even the more abilities he can unlock. So basically, if 1,000,000 people believe in Izuku, he has all these abilities and he's immensely powerful. But if no one believes in Izuku, he is practically quirkless. His powers mean nothing if no one has hope in him. And this includes Izuku as well. A fundamental being of his power is that he has hope in himself to rally hope around in the people around him. If, like I said before, if no one has hope in him, his powers are meaningless. However, if 1,000,000,000, so many people have hope in him, he can have all these new abilities, he can have the super strength, and he can just maintain these powers and have such high levels of strength within them. So, beginning this what if off, Izuku is going to be the son of All Might and Inko. All Might having this child, him being the symbol of peace, the symbol of hope within Japan, and being the #1 hero, makes perfect sense to be Izuku's father. However, but because of who All Might is, and being that #1 hero and having his arch nemesis being All for One, Izuku and Inko have to be held away. They have to be kept a secret. And so Izuku and Inko are going to be protected individuals, which means they are going to be living on UA's campus. Izuku is going to be surrounded by all of these heroes, being with them. And because of All Might being Izuku's father, he is gifted, he is birthed with this immensely powerful hope quirk, allowing him to step into that role of his successor, not in the one-for-all sense, but in the best hero sort of sense, that hope, symbol of peace sense. So with Izuku growing up on UA's campus, his friends and his education isn't in that of the normal sense. He gets that education, however, he gets it from Nezu himself. With Nezu being so incredibly just smart and intelligent, he teaches Izuku everything he can, knowing that Izuku, with such the powerful quirk that he was born with and has, that Izuku has to be intelligent as well. And since he is being raised and kept on UA's campus, he can't exactly go to a traditional elementary school either. So Izuku is raised with Nezu, learning everything from elementary school all the way up until middle school. This is where he befriends, say, Aizawa, Eraserhead, Midnight, all Kamui Woods, all of these heroes that come in and out of UA because they went there. They were students there, and even the teachers there love Izuku. He is All Might's son after all, and he has that personality within him as well. That personality to lift up others and inspire them, and to treat everybody with respect and kindness, just like Izuku did in the original series, however, even more, especially with Nezu teaching him. So, because Izuku doesn't have this normal childhood, a lot of his friends are older. They're UA students, even. However, they don't know he's All Might's son, of course. They just know he's someone that, for some reason, lives there, possibly a teacher's son or something. So, with Izuku growing up on UA, Izuku basically has a free ride into UA. Everyone knows it. Izuku is going to go to UA. He's going to become a hero, and he's going to be a dang good hero at that. So when it comes time for the UA entrance exams, Nezu sat Izuku down. Look, I already know how powerful you are. You've been training with me and Eraserhead, Midnight, all these teachers for so long, since you were basically born. You don't have to take the entrance exam. Izuku just smiles and says, no, I want to take it. Izuku, I want to see what my powers can be, especially if I can't garner hope. I feel like this is a perfect training opportunity for me, Izuku says, looking at Nezu with determination. Nezu smiles and hands him some paperwork. I thought you said that. Sign these so I can give you clearance, Nezu says. So Izuku signs the papers, and we cut to see him sitting in a dark auditorium. Present Mike hands all of the students their first portion of the test, the written portion, as Izuku gets his copy. He flips through pages with ease, flipping his pencil fast, right back and forth, easily writing all of the answers down so very quickly. A lot of this stuff is elementary to Izuku. I mean, he was basically training and learning under the smartest person in the entire country up until this point. And so Izuku is practically a prodigy. He's learned all of this well in advance and knows it down to a T. So as Izuku easily passes this, he hands it up to Present Mike, as Present Mike just smiles and shakes his head. I expect nothing less from you, Izuku, he says, shaking his head, smiling, as Izuku just gives him a thumbs up and goes back to his desk. The rest of the students finish as Present Mike begins handing out each student's card. This card tells them what city and what time they are going to be taking their entrance exam, as for some reason this year there is a vast number more than they had expected to be taking the UA entrance exam, especially for the hero portion. So with that, it's there waiting for his city to be called, as well as the time. Izuku City A and slots 12 p.m. Izuku goes there once it is called, and he sees all of these other students around him. He starts looking at them, trying to analyze them, seeing which ones could possibly be his classmates, as he can't quite exactly tell. However, he does see someone extremely fiery almost, basically looking there all jumpy and staticky with explosions bursting from his hands. He looks excited. Izuku looks at him before noting, yeah, he'll probably be in Class 1A, he thinks to himself as the doors open as Izuku rushes out. At this point, he doesn't have a lot of hope in him. I mean, he knows he has hope in himself to be powerful and to demonstrate his powers. However, from the rest of everybody around him, there isn't exactly much hope. Of course, the teachers have hope in him, and that gives him a little bit of power, but he doesn't exactly know how he's going to garner anything else, possibly by saving other people that weren't exactly qualified. So with Izuku's little bit of power, he rushes around with his most basic form of the Quirk, his super strength. Izuku rushes around punching each robot. His fists hurt a little bit from the punches, however, that is no big deal. He punches each robot, the 3-point, the 5-point robots, and they each have dents in them where he punches them, allowing for Izuku to punch them a couple of times and to get the points. The teachers smile, looking on. He's actually doing pretty well for the minuscule amount of hope everyone has in him, the teachers say, looking towards him. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, though, if he pulls something and gets some crazy amount of power back, Nezu says, swiveling his chair around. All Might stares on, looking back, a smile across his face, almost a tear welling in his eye. My son going to UA and following my footsteps. I can't even imagine it, All Might says, smiling, shaking his head. Izuku continues to gather these small bits and pieces of points until he hears the ground shake, a rumble, as everyone looks forward. A look of fear and just anger and scared all rushes over people. They're mixed. These mixed emotions. They're shocked, terrified, they can't believe it. A towering 0-point robot stands above the city, looking down, reaching towards these contestants. This is Izuku's time to shine. He steps forward, saying, "Don't worry, guys, I got this." Many of the students are shocked, like, yeah, right, this guy has it. I mean, he's done nothing but punch robots and barely even dented them. I'm sure he can do this. While other people, those that were really scared and terrified, hoped that Izuku could take this robot out before it hurt anybody, giving Izuku a power boost. His leg muscles swelled, pulsing, veins popping out, his muscles ripped. He is stronger than ever. He jumps up, flying right up to the robot, punching it square in the head, much like he does in the original series. This time, though, his bones aren't broken. He punches a clean hole right through the chest as all of the surrounding students are shocked. He stands there floating in mid-air, pumping his fist. "I told you I had it," he says, smiling, giving a look of accomplishment as all of the students are just amazed. They can't believe it. This guy looks like he's gonna be the next All Might, even the better than All Might, many of the students thought, as the horn sounds, signaling that the UA entrance exam is now over. Izuku floats back down to the ground as he picks up some rubble off of someone's leg. He lifts them up and asks them if they're alright, as they're like, "Yeah, I'm alright. That was amazing. I can't believe you did that." Izuku smiles and shrugs. "Yeah, I guess I just got lucky with my quirk," he says, before walking off as the student admires him, looking that is what a true hero is like. He's humble and he can't really believe it. Someone with such a powerful quirk, that cool. As we cut to see Nezu walk into Izuku's room, with Nezu staring at Izuku. "Well, I can't say I'm surprised, Izuku." Deku looks at him, shaking his head, laughing. "Yeah, I tried to hold back a little bit, didn't want to show off too much." Nezu laughs. "Yeah, right. So, you ready for your first day of classes?" Izuku nods his head. "Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited." Nezu hands Izuku a personalized care package, which includes Izuku's UA uniform. He smiles, looking towards Nezu, and laughs. "Thanks, Nezu." "I can't wait," he says. As the day comes to an end, he places the uniform on his desk before heading off to sleep. The next morning, Izuku puts on the uniform, tying his tie tight as he walks down the stairs. Both his dad, All Might, and his mother, Inko, stand there hugging each other, looking on towards Izuku in a proud moment. Their son is going to be a hero, and they are so very proud of him. All Might goes forward, reaching out his hand, giving Izuku a strong handshake as Izuku smiles. "Thanks, Dad," he says, looking towards him. "You've got this, Izuku. I know it." As Izuku goes off, his mother hugs him one last time, looking at him. "You're going to be such a grown adult, Izuku. You're going to be such a good hero, too. I know it," she says, tears spewing out of her eyes, just so proud of Izuku and all he has become. Izuku smiles. "I can't wait," he says, pumping his fist, flexing his arm, stepping out of the door, walking towards the main UA building. As Izuku arrives in the classroom, he looks around, looking towards all of the people that are going to soon be his friends. He spots a couple of people that he had helped during the UA entrance exam as he looks around, sitting next to a brown-haired girl. He reaches out his hand, saying, "Hi, I'm Izuku. I'm Uraraka. Nice to meet you." Izuku laughs as he goes to look for more students. All of a sudden, a blue-haired kid with glasses stops him. "Wait, aren't you the kid that destroyed that giant robot at the entrance exam?" Izuku laughs a little bit. Yeah, that's me. I mean, no biggie," Izuku says as Ida reaches his hand out, saying, "I'm Tenya Ida. Nice to meet you, Izuku Midoriya." "Pleasure's mine," he says as they both sit down next to each other. Uraraka, Ida, and Izuku are going to be great friends. All three of them think simultaneously. As Izuku's sitting there waiting for Aizawa to show up, he thinks to himself, "There's no way Aizawa decides to pull this same stupid trick like he did last year, right?" As Aizawa walks in, sliding the door open, he immediately tells all of the class to shut up or else they're going to be expelled. Within an instant, they are all uniformed, sitting straight up at their desks, pencils at the ready. As Aizawa laughs, I need all of you at Site A, the dirt lot, in 5 minutes or less. If any of you are late, you're expelled. Have your PE uniforms on. Can't have your school uniforms getting dirty now, can we? We're going to be doing a quick Quirk apprehension test. And if any of you, and I mean any of you, he eyes looking at Mineta, disappoint me, you will be expelled from UA, and your hopes of being a hero will be crushed. All the students jump up in their seats, shocked, as Izuku smiles. He sighs. When is Aizawa going to have this joke become old? He does it every year. Every year, Aizawa would show Izuku, laughing with him, this video of him threatening to expel students, as all of the students would look shocked and would instantly rush down to get their PE uniforms on so that they wouldn't be expelled. With that, we cut to see all of the students gasping for air, breathing heavy, hands on their knees, all hunched over, as they had sprinted down to Lot A for this dirt lot so that they could test their quirks. Lo and behold, Aizawa stumbles onto the lot 5 minutes late, laughing. Well, it seems all of you got here on time. He looks around, looking at all of them, before throwing a ball towards Izuku. Alright, Izuku. You're first up. Don't let me down, or else you know what it means. He flicks a clipboard. Don't make me scratch your name off this list. Izuku smiles. Oh, I know you won't have to. All of the class stares around him, looking at him, many with hopeful eyes, hoping Izuku can do it. They don't want to see this kid that had so much promise just lose out on UA because he failed to impress the teacher. As Izuku stands there, he ends up growing and growing in strength, all of the class having such high hopes for him, knowing after seeing what he had done in that entrance exam. He cocks back his arm, reaching back with the baseball in his hand, throwing the ball as a giant shockwave appears, sending it flying into the air. So very fast, landing 2,000 meters away. As the rest of the class is in shock and in awe, Aizawa writes down the number before saying, "Good job, Izuku." Alright, next, Bakugo. He tosses the ball to Bakugo as he reaches back his fist and sends a giant explosion right into the baseball, sending it flying 700 meters. The rest of the class goes, with all of them sending the ball as far as they can, none quite reaching the level and distance that Izuku had sent it. Remember, Izuku is a prodigy. He has been training not only his intelligence, but his quirk with the UA teachers for years. He knows how to use it. He has almost mastered it at this point. Of course, he hasn't used it in a villain sense or quite exerted himself to its fullest potential, meaning that there still is a ways to go, but for being a freshly new high schooler, Izuku is at right about the max he could be. Of course, this is only going to grow as he ages and with experience. So as the rest of the class throws the ball, the next quirk apprehension test will be the race. Izuku stands on the starting line in a starting position as Aizawa shoots a blank into the air. All of the students rush off, Mina gliding on her acid, Bakugo sending explosions flying back behind him. Meanwhile, Izuku is just running. He doesn't feel like flying as he just sprints as fast as he can, keeping up with some of the fastest students in Todoroki gliding on his ice and Bakugo shooting explosions behind him to propel himself forward. As all three of them cross the line, Aizawa clocks the time stopping as he sees that all three of them had managed to tie. He shakes his head laughing. Well, maybe you all will be the big three of the first years. You know there is that of the third and second. I'm starting to have some hope in all of you guys, he says, looking towards them, before reaching down towards his clipboard, flipping through a couple of papers. Alright, you all have impressed me enough. I'm not going to expel anybody here. I know. I'm so kind, he says before walking off, turning back. You're all dismissed. You're free to go home, he says, flicking his fingers in the air, signifying that it's time for them to leave. Many of the students look back towards each other. Izuku walks over to Uraraka and Ida with a confused look. Did he really think he was going to expel anybody? Uraraka asks him as Izuku just laughs. No, I've heard he does that every year. Although there was one year a couple years ago, he did expel a couple of kids at least. At least that's what I've heard, Izuku says, instantly trying not to blow his cover. Ida looks at him almost in shock. Really? He can just do that? After they paid tuition and paid for the entrance exam, he can just expel them? Well, I mean, he is the top first-year teacher, after all. I don't see why not. Ida puts his hand on his chin, almost look as if he's, like, scruffing his tiny chin hairs, but that don't exist. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. With that, the three of them walk off as they reach the exit. Aren't you coming, Izuku? They say, pointing towards the bus stop to go home, as Izuku shakes his head. No, I think I'm going to stay here a little bit. I want to explore the campus. They nod their heads, giving Izuku a thumbs up. Alright, see you tomorrow, they say, walking off as Izuku goes back home. Both All Might and Inko sitting at the dinner table waiting for him, both eagerly wanting to hear how his first day had went. As he sits down at the table, they both eagerly sit up, almost jittery, anxiously twitching, wondering how their baby's first day at UA had gone. Izuku laughs. Calm down, guys, calm down. So, how was it? Inko says, stuttering a little bit. You know, the usual. All Might laughs before putting his hand down on the table. Come on, Izuku, no more jokes. How was your first day? It was pretty fun. I have quite a lot of friends, and maybe a couple rivals. All Might looks towards him intently. Who? Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki. I'm sure you recognize Todoroki's name, but Bakugo... No, he doesn't have any hero parents. And his explosion quirk, it's quite strong and capable. Wouldn't expect that from someone who isn't the child of a hero. All Might looks towards him. Really? Bakugo, you say? Interesting. Maybe I'll have to look into that, he says, as Izuku smiles. I think you'll quite like this class once you meet them. All Might laughs, looking towards his son. Well, actually, I think I'll meet them sooner rather than later. Izuku looks towards his dad, confused. What do you mean? He says. Well, I actually took a part-time job at UA. What? Izuku says, standing up, his chair falling backwards, his hands on the table. What do you mean you took a part-time job? Well, you see, I'm actually planning on being your hero teacher. All Might says with a smug, smirk smile on his face. You can't be serious, right? Izuku says. Nope, I am completely serious. Your new hero teacher is me, All Might, he says as Izuku laughs. Yeah, right. You'll see. You just gotta wait a couple weeks and your first hero class will come. And lo and behold, there I will be. Your hero teacher. Izuku laughs at the awkward conversation him and his dad were having as he walks off towards his room, ready to go to bed from the long day of the Quirk apprehension tests. Upon waking up, Izuku gets dressed once again and heads off to school. He does this for the next couple of weeks as the days seem to slowly tick on by. All of the classes seem to basically just be preparing Izuku in intelligence, nothing really involving his quirks as of yet. However, that was until one fateful Monday, where it would be the first time any of the students would have their hero class. Izuku eagerly awaits to see who his teacher will be, tapping his fingers on the table. He looks on before he sees the door smash in as All Might comes in, his muscles flexing and bulging into his suit. I am here, he says, flexing his muscles. As all of the students look on in amazement, All Might? You're our hero teacher? They say, all shocked and confused. Yup, that's right. I can't believe this, Izuku says, laughing to himself. You really weren't lying, he says under his breath, with a couple of students saying, What was that, Izuku? Before he quickly shakes his head. Oh, nothing. I was just mumbling to myself. Not wanting to blow the cover that he was All Might's son. At least not wanting to blow it just yet. As Izuku looks towards All Might, he ends up passing them out all of their hero costumes that they had designed in the weeks prior. Izuku, of course, designing his hero costume to be as flashy as possible. I mean, he needs to stick out. He needs to be that symbol of hope to garner up strength for his power. So, because of that, Izuku makes it flashy. He has a flowy cape, wanting to be basically that symbol, almost like he is Superman. As all of the students put their hero costumes on and walk out, many of them give compliments to each other about their costumes. Many of them looking towards Izuku, asking him, That's a little bit flashy, no? Izuku just shrugs his shoulders. Well, I kinda need to be flashy for my Quirk. At least that's what I think, Izuku says, as many of the students nod their heads. With that, we see All Might pair up all of the students into groups for this hero vs. villains training assignment. Izuku is paired with Ida, while Bakugo is paired with Todoroki, and so on and so forth. Ida and Izuku are going to be heroes, while Bakugo and Todoroki will be villains. All Might specifically paired Izuku up in this way to give him a test. These are some of the most powerful students in all of the first years, and so by giving Izuku this test, he can see his abilities, see where he is at. So with that, Izuku and Ida walk down to the building where their hero vs. villains test is going to be held at. They see both Bakugo and Todoroki walk in, as Todoroki starts to try and make a plan with Bakugo. Bakugo just shrugs him off. Don't worry about it, he says. I've got this. You can just sit back and protect the device. As Todoroki looks towards him, almost confused, both of them cold and almost clashing personalities with each other, does not mix well. Both of them have a lot of growing up to do if they want to be heroes, and the two being paired together is also another test. All Might had heard from Aizawa the difference in personalities from the two, the fiery, arrogant, and egotistical Bakugo, while Todoroki is more quiet and in his own world, but also in his own ways arrogant, seeing himself as the best. He's cold like his ice. So with that, 5 minutes pass for the villains to prepare as Izuku and Ida walk in. Both of them, being very smart, plan their attack easily. They are both going to stick together and work together. They walk through the corridors, eagerly awaiting to see anything happen. Both Bakugo and Todoroki, however, split up. They went down different hallways, as they end up meeting up with each other and reaching multiple dead ends. Izuku and Ida both continue walking together, very cautiously looking around, unsure when the two, Bakugo and Todoroki, could just appear out of nowhere at any second. So with that, Izuku and Ida continue walking until they end up meeting up with Todoroki, who instantly says a warm hello by sending a massive iceberg barreling down the hallway towards both Izuku and Todoroki. Uraraka, looking on, gives her hope towards Izuku, hoping that they would be able to stop it. The rest of the class doesn't really like the two of Bakugo and Todoroki, as the two of them were quite arrogant, like I had said before, especially Bakugo. However, Todoroki not as much, just being more of a quiet kid. However, that doesn't mean that they didn't want Izuku to win. So in this hope for Izuku, hoping that he can beat Todoroki, knowing that he can, this hope gathers into Izuku, giving him strength, giving him power, as Izuku punches right through the ice, shattering it into tiny millions of these tiny little minuscule ice cubes all around, these icicles scattering across the floor as Todoroki slides in, sending another iceberg towards them, which this time Ida kicks using his engine. And before Todoroki can even send another iceberg, Ida uses his engines, sprinting towards Todoroki, running right past him as Todoroki looks on, trying to send an iceberg towards him, towards his feet, to stop him and capture him. But Izuku doesn't allow it, flying, using his flight to break the sound barrier, sending back a shockwave behind him right towards Todoroki, punching him across the face right into a wall. This punch, so powerful, it leaves a crater in such wall as Todoroki peels off of it, completely knocked out. The hit had completely blindsided him. With Todoroki subdued, Izuku puts tape around him to signify that he had been captured, as he rushes off, flying off towards Ida. However, as he turns a corner, he sees Ida standing there, hands cocked at the ready, as Bakugo looks on with an arrogant, egotistical smirk, almost a maniacal smirk even, looking towards him. "You ready, Ida?" he says, clenching his fist, sending explosions behind him as he reaches towards Ida, sending an explosion right into his face, sending Ida barreling, walking backwards into a wall. Ida stands himself up again, shaking it off, his helmet eyes glowing, looking for anger, looking at Bakugo, trying to look for what his next move will be as he comes in, flying in, sending another explosion towards him. However, Ida manages to dodge it. Remember, he is extremely fast as well, dodging Bakugo, jumping up, giving Bakugo almost a bicycle kick right into Bakugo's back, sending him flying forward. Bakugo catches himself on the doorway, grabbing the two edges, pushing himself forward before cocking his fist forward, his grenade launcher at the ready. It was time. It was beeping. It was full of his sweat, and he was about to ignite it. He pulls the pin, sending an explosion right towards Ida, as Ida shakes his head. "Oh no, I can't outrun this one." Izuku almost instantly swoops in, flying in, grabbing Ida right under the two of his arms, flying in and hiding behind a doorway as the explosion sends a massive hole right through the hallway that they were just in. Both Izuku and Ida's head peering out of the hallway, looking back to where the explosion had landed. The wall that was once there was completely missing. They looked further beyond that, and the buildings next to it had giant holes all within it. That explosion had sent massive holes right through these giant buildings. And if Ida was standing there, he might even have a hole through him as well. All Might, seeing this, stands up confused. "I better not see you do that again, Bakugo." This Bakugo just laughs. "It's not my fault I'm this powerful," he says, clenching his fists. "You seriously endanger your classmates once again. I'll end this right now," he says as Bakugo just nods his head. All right, I will. I'll make sure I don't hurt anybody." With that, Bakugo clenches his fists again before sending them flying backwards, going towards, sending an explosion right into the doorway that Izuku and Ida were just in. However, they were gone. Bakugo looks around both of the corners of that doorway, but he can't find them. He looks around, inching towards every doorway. However, there is nothing. Nobody around. He's confused. A cold, eerie silence washes over the building as goosebumps form on the back of Bakugo's neck. Something doesn't feel right. And all of a sudden, a green hum appears, a green glow appearing, reflecting off one of the walls. Bakugo, scared, ducks down as a green laser peers from Izuku's eyes, cutting through the walls of the building. As Bakugo, ducking down, narrowly avoided it. However, while he was down there, Ida comes rushing in, punching Bakugo before kicking him. The punch merely another distraction, kicking him right in the chest, knocking the wind out of him as Izuku jumps in, tying tape around Bakugo. All Might smashes the red horn button as he calls it over. Both Bakugo and Todoroki had been captured and subdued. With that, Izuku and Ida grab Bakugo and Todoroki and bring them back to All Might, where Recovery Girl is waiting for them. She outstretches her lips and kisses all four of them, allowing them all to heal from any injuries they had sustained. As Izuku and Ida unwrap the tape, All Might looks towards both Bakugo and Todoroki coldly. That was quite brash from both of you. You both have a lot of growing up to do as heroes. You need to work together, even if you don't like the hero you're working with. There's no places for egos in the hero world. That will get you killed. Imagine if Izuku and Ida were villains, and they were out for your necks. The two of you would be dead right now. Your hero careers ended short because you guys didn't want to work together. Think about that. Think about that the next time you want to go off on your own because you're too arrogant or egotistical to work with somebody. Pitiful, All Might says, shaking his head. This is one of the first times anybody had even seen All Might frown, and it made perfect sense. What Bakugo and Todoroki did was just straight idiotic. To not work with each other? With this team and both the teams being the first to go, the rest of the teams knew that they had to work together, especially after All Might sort of lash out at the two, Bakugo and Todoroki. So as Izuku's classmates finish up all of their hero vs. villain tests, they all walk off with a paper with their grade on it. Izuku and Ida with an A, while Bakugo and Todoroki both failed. A giant big fat F written on their paper, with All Might giving subtle comments about it through them, giving them status reports and what they should have done better. The two possible members of the big three of the first years not starting off so well in the grade column. As we cut forward, we now see all of the students sitting in class. Their hero class ended as Aizawa goes over the grades. Izuku, good job. Uraraka, good job. Kirishima, going through the class before he lands on both Todoroki and Bakugo. The entire class had managed to get A's except those two. Wow, I'm kind of disappointed in you two. I was expecting a lot better, he says, shaking his head. Well, you guys better not disappoint at the next test. We will be going to the USJ here in a couple of weeks. That is going to be your first class field trip. I expect all of you to be prepared. No slouching. I need all of your staminas up as fast as possible. We are going to be practicing a lot of different things, especially rescue. And if you're just a step behind or a step too slow, that could cost lives. I expect all of you to be ready. Class is dismissed. Aizawa dismisses class as all of the students stand up. All of the students walk out talking with each other as Izuku again goes the opposite way as everybody else. Uraraka and Ida, a little bit confused by this, are wondering why. I mean, Izuku never seems to walk out with them towards the bus stop anymore, and he never even would leave UA's campus. This was a little confusing to them, but at the same time, they chose not to care, you know? Oh well, I mean, who cares? This guy, he's not really causing any harm by walking out another way, you know? Maybe he just wants some alone time, they think to themselves. With that, a couple of weeks pass as Izuku and his classmates walk into school. Aizawa stands up and asks the class if they are ready, as they all nod their heads. Yes, they say, pumping their fists, many of them, as he tells them to put their hero costumes on and head out towards the door. Upon getting towards the door, they see a giant, large luxury bus sitting there humming with the engine humming, waiting for them. They all pile on with Aizawa taking attendance, checking off their names one by one. As Aizawa finishes, he steps onto the bus, sitting down in the first seat as it just rushes off towards the USJ. Upon arriving, the bus doors swing open as the class piles out, greeted upon leaving the bus by the hero 13, the basically keeper or the teacher that runs the USJ. With 13 standing there, she opens up her arms, outstretching them, showing the class everything. This is the USJ. Magnificent, isn't it? This is where you guys will be training your hearts out, training to rescue civilians, and training in all sorts of different environments. Everyone looks around seeing this rainy environment, fire environment, even just an ocean environment. As a hero, you are going to be exposed to so many different environments, and you have to be ready for every single one. I expect all of you to be prepared no matter what it takes. And so, let's begin, she says, clenching her fists, pumping them in the air. However, something interrupts that. Behind her, a purple portal spews open as villains start piling out. Aizawa jumps forward, flicking his arms out wide, outstretched. Class, stand back. This isn't part of the USJ, his voice says urgently. The class in shock. What? Many of them stutter, scared. What do you mean this isn't part of the test? This is a real villain attack, he says, almost confused and shocked. This was unheard of, an unheard of precedent. UA getting attacked by villains? There's just no way. Aizawa sees this, reaches out his phone, trying to call the UA main campus, but he can't. There's almost like a signal being blocked over the USJ. These villains continue to peer and just fumble out of this portal as finally two final villains appear. Shigaraki, a blue-haired boy, along with a giant bird-like thing. This beast, pumped full of looked like muscle, as he stands there just flexing almost, looking on, trying to basically, like he was trying to intimidate the class almost. As all of the students look on in shock and in horror, another portal appears right beneath their feet. Many of the classmates reach out as they fall into the portal, trying to grab onto one another, pulling even more of their classmates in, leading to very little students being left at the entrance. They run towards the door, trying the door, but they can't open it. Kirogiri opens a portal right in front of them before saying this. No, I'm not gonna have any of you leave. You're just gonna miss the fun, he says, laughing as he shuts the portal again. Ida, seeing this, uses his engines, sprints past as Kirogiri tries to open up another portal, slamming through the door, rushing off towards UA's main campus and building. Well, one of you escaped, so I guess I'll just have to stay here and make sure no one else does, he says. We cut to see Izuku land on a boat. There with him is Asui and Mineta. Mineta almost pissing his pants, scared, jittering. He's shaking, almost completely nervous. This can't be real. This just can't be real. It's not a real villain attack, right? He says, holding himself. There's just no way. I'm not ready for this. I just joined the hero course at UA, and the only reason I even joined that was to get girls. He's, as his voice and words fumbling over each other, completely scared. Asui flicks him in the back of the head with her tongue. Lock in, Mineta, she says in her frog-froaky-like voice, as Izuku laughs. Yeah, Mineta. Besides, the more scared you are, the easier it will be for them to take you out. Them? Mineta stutters as Izuku points behind him. Tens of villains climbing over the side of the boat, looking towards each of them. Well, it appears we only got 3 UA students to toy with. You ready, fellas? A lizard-like corked person looks back, looking towards the water, as all of these villains say, right! They say, jumping onto the boat, completely entrapping and circling Izuku, Asui, and Mineta. Mineta, completely scared, can't believe it. He starts grabbing the balls on the top of his head and starts throwing them at them, creating almost a wall, throwing them as fast as he can, just with his eyes closed. I can't look, he says, throwing all of these, as Asui tells him again, Mineta, calm down. Besides, Zuko and me are here. You'll be fine, she says, almost in a sort of last-ditch effort to gain confidence in herself. Please, Izuku, please, he says as Izuku stands there. I'll do what I can. You ready, Asui? Yep, she says as the two of them jump forward. Asui flicking her tongue back and forth, slapping all of these villains, slapping them back into the water, as Izuku does the same, this time with his fists, however, punching each of them, dodging their attacks, their blows, as the main villain of the water group comes in, reaching towards Izuku, jumping at him with his scaled body, jumping towards him, his claws slashing at him, his lizard-like appearance as he turns around and flicks his tail at Izuku. Izuku, completely shocked, jumps back, jumping over the tail as the villain laughs. You're no match for me. You filthy heroes. I had to become a villain because of my appearance, because I was different from all of you. Look what I've become. Izuku shakes his head. That's not my fault. I don't even know who you are. Jumping towards him, punching him across the face, but it does nothing. The scales acting to sort of protect him. As Mineta stares on, he throws balls, trying to help Izuku. I've got you, Izuku, I'll help. Throwing them as the lizard steps in one of them, trying to reach his foot, but he can't. His foot won't come off, completely stuck to it. Release me, you little freak, he says towards Mineta, as Izuku says, ironic, reaching back, grabbing the villain's lizard-like head and slamming his knee right into the head, knocking him out clean, unconscious. Izuku looks around towards the rest of the villains, putting his hands up. So, who's got next dibs? Izuku says, twirling his fingers in the air. The villains all yelling, rushing at him, as Izuku dodges each of their attacks, punching them one by one. Mineta and Asui's hope in him growing, until finally he jumps back and his eyes start glowing green. He sends a quick, sharp, green laser right through all of the villains, knocking them out. A giant purple bruise cutting through all of their shirts, leaving that bruise line right across the middle of their chests. With no more villains, Izuku looks towards the rest of his friends. He looks on, seeing Aizawa jumping in, fighting all of these villains, as Izuku looks off towards where he can find other people that may need help. He hears screams and crying coming from the regular city as he looks towards Asui and Mineta. Alright guys, I think our best course of action here is to go off towards there. He points towards the city. I'm hearing screams. It can't possibly be good. And besides, if we were there to help, I think we can have strength in numbers. Asui says, yeah, that makes sense, as Mineta looks towards him like he's crazy. Are you kidding me? We just defeated these villains. Why don't we stay here and rest a little bit? Izuku shakes his head. No. Remember, Mineta, we're training to be heroes. We have to protect our friends, and especially those that need our help. Mineta sighs. I guess you're right. Alright, let's go, he says almost in a defeated tone, as Izuku nods his head. Mineta, Asui, and Izuku all rush off, Izuku jumping in the air, grabbing both of their arms, and flying over to the city where they heard the cries. Izuku stops right on the top of a building as he places both Asui and Mineta down. They hear the cries again, the wails echoing around the city, bouncing off of the building walls. Izuku looks around, looking for wherever it could be, as he spots a giant group of villains standing around, looking in a circle towards the middle. There he sees Ida with his hands cocked, ready to fight, with Uraraka sitting behind him. She's holding her leg, wincing in pain. Izuku looks at this angry. He's, "What? My friends," he says, jumping over towards them, leaping off of the building as Asui reaches out towards him, asking him what the plan is. But it's too late. Izuku jumps off, instantly flying down, slamming his fist in the ground, sending a couple of the villains flying backwards. He reaches up, slamming his fist right into another villain. Both Ida and Uraraka exclaim, "Izuku!" They say in a hope-filled expression. They are so excited and happy to see him. Uraraka reaches out towards him. "Izuku, please save us," she says as Ida nods his head. "Come on, Izuku. We got this." Just like the Heroes vs. Villains test. Izuku nods his head as the two go back to back. The villain starts rushing in towards both Ida and Izuku, as with each villain coming in, the two easily knock them down. Izuku punching them square in the face as Ida does kicks right towards their stomach, each time sending them flying back, but it seems as though villains just keep on coming. Wave after wave keeps coming until finally we see Mineta and Asui make their way over towards them as well, fighting villain after villain too. With that, the five of them end up beginning to knock back the waves. With Uraraka still being injured though, it takes some time. And with that, we see them defeat all of these villains. However, Uraraka seems to be getting worse. She's going in and out of consciousness as Izuku looks towards her leg. It's badly bruised and is bloodied. Izuku picks her up and jumps off. "I'll be back. I'm just gonna go drop her off at the front. Hopefully Aizawa and 13 are there to protect her," he says, jumping off, flying into the air, rushing over towards 13 and Aizawa, at least his last location of them. As Izuku gets there and drops her off, almost instantaneously, the heroes of UA burst through the doors. They look around, looking for anything they could see, as they see villain after villain in the center stage as Aizawa continues to fight. Almost instantly, the villains see and look up towards all these pro heroes. Some of them get scared, however, some of them change their focus. They begin rushing up the stairs in eager and anticipation, rushing towards all of these pro heroes, which is no use. With so many pro heroes there, they easily take them out. However, one pro hero is strangely missing: All Might. All Might is not here this time. He is off in some other location, having to deal with other villains. With some other circumstance, he had to be out of town. And because of that, there's no hero to take care of the Nomu. Shigaraki looks from side to side, scanning all of the heroes before sighing. "Well, Nomu, it seems there's no All Might here for you to toy with. I guess just go try to break some of those heroes' legs, why don't you?" The Nomu gives off a scream, rushing towards the pro heroes as they're not exactly sure what to do. Many of them brace for impact as the Nomu cocks back his fist, ready to punch right through one of the heroes' skulls. However, Izuku steps up. He jumps in front of it, grabbing the Nomu's gigantic fist with both of his hands, grabbing it almost like it's a disc and twirling around, throwing the Nomu off into the fountain. The pro heroes look towards Izuku. "Izuku, you seriously should stand back. You don't want to mess with that thing," they say, looking at Izuku, telling him to be careful. However, Izuku shakes his head. "No, I got this. Don't worry. It's what my dad would have done," he says with a little cocky smile drawing over his face. He jumps down, landing right in front of the Nomu, hope beginning to grow in Izuku. Many of the heroes had their doubts, but seeing Izuku's confidence made them have hope in him. They cheered on Izuku's name. "Come on, Izuku, you've got this!" as they raced off to go find the rest of Class 1A and defeat the rest of the villains. Izuku jumps down as Shigaraki orders many of the villains to surround Izuku to make sure he can't have a fair fight against the Nomu. However, Aizawa jumps in along with Midnight and takes care of the rest of the villains, allowing Izuku that fair fight that Shigaraki did not want him to have. Izuku looks towards the Nomu as it stands up, dusting itself off, before giving a loud screech into the air, the bird-like features and face giving off an eerie, unhuman characteristic-like appearance to Izuku. Shivers go up his spine as he readies his fist. "Come on! Come at me," Izuku says, the Nomu rushing in, punching him square in the chest, but it does nothing. Izuku stands there. The Nomu, looking down at its fist, looks back up towards Izuku in almost a look of horror. The mindless thing looking scared. Izuku smiles, looking at it right at its eyes, before punching it across the beak as a shatter mark begins forming along the beak, spreading until the beak shatters into tiny little fragments. The beak now missing, the Nomu screeches in pain and in agony, looking towards Izuku with rage-filled eyes. Izuku now shaking his head once more. "You're not gonna hurt any of my friends." "And that goes for you too," Izuku says, twisting, pointing his finger at Shigaraki as Shigaraki laughs. "Oh, just you wait," Shigaraki says as the Nomu's beak begins to reform. "What?" Izuku says, completely shocked. "This thing? It has multiple quirks?" He says, the Nomu's beak completely regenerating, just like it had been before. There's just no way. A strength quirk, a bird quirk, and now a regen quirk? This thing's seriously overpowered. "I guess I'll have to start trying." Shigaraki looks at him. "Oh, please, don't kid yourself. You know you've been trying this whole time." Izuku laughs as the Nomu jumps towards him, going for a punch as Izuku barely manages to dodge it, sending a quick uppercut right towards the Nomu's chest. But it does nothing as well. The Nomu this time coming back full strength as well. The two jump back towards each other, sending fist after fist towards each other as the fists collide, going blow for blow in a quick, rapid-fire attack towards both of each other. The two begin jumping towards each other, sending blow after blow. Izuku sending flying kicks towards the Nomu, but it's all in vain. No attack seems to be working. Izuku sees his powers beginning to weaken, the hero standing on, losing hope in him as the battle takes longer and longer. However, he looks towards the city that he was in just a short couple of minutes ago, helping Uraraka. He sees Ida, Asui, and Mineta all staring on, yelling his name. "Come on, Izuku! You've got this!" they say, enlightening another hope and another fire within himself. And with that, we see Izuku gain even more strength that he had been using and had within him. He jumps back, his eyes glowing green, as he sends giant lasers barreling towards the Nomu, cutting off the Nomu's limbs, leaving it with just stumps where its arms and legs were. And before it can even regenerate, Izuku jumps in, slamming his hand right into the Nomu's skull, punching through the brain as the mush and brain goes flying everywhere. Izuku, seeing the Nomu's eyes roll back, now gone, put out of its misery, he looks towards Shigaraki again, jumping towards him. "I'm not letting you get away with this," Izuku said, reaching out his hand towards Shigaraki's neck. And as Shigaraki was reaching out his hand, his long, dangly fingers outstretched towards Izuku, Shigaraki is pulled through the portal as Izuku falls to the ground. He slams his fist into the tile in anger. "No! Dang it, no!" he says in frustration. "No, this can't be. He couldn't have got away." But he did. Eraserhead walks behind Izuku and places his hand on his shoulder. It's okay, Izuku. It's okay. There'll be other chances to get him. I have a feeling that this isn't the last attack that we're gonna experience. Izuku looks back towards Aizawa. Yeah, but next time we'll be ready. We fast forward to see all of the students standing there as Recovery Girl is quickly going around kissing all of them, healing them as villains are piled into giant paddy wagons getting sent off to prisons. With all of Class 1 and standing there, they all are looking around, making sure all of their friends are okay. They get back onto the bus in almost a solemn and hushed up mood. It's very, very quiet. Nobody really wants to talk about what happened, especially with everything that went down. A villain attack, after all. We fast forward again to see all of the students sitting in the classroom the day after the USJ incident had occurred. Aizawa walks in the door with a frown on his face. Look, he sighs. I know what all of you experienced. It was no slouch of a experience or test, especially for 1A hero class. However, I would like to pat you all on the back here. What you guys did was simply remarkable. I don't know if I could say any single one of my prior first year hero classes could have done and been as successful as you all did today. I'm extremely proud of all of you, and all of you have an extremely high hopes for heroes in the future. Except maybe you, Mineta. What? Mineta says, completely shocked by this just random remark. Aizawa goes back to being serious. However, with this, we do, however, know that this plan and this attack was calculated. It was thought of, and it was taken out with extreme measure. And so do not be alarmed if some other attack ends up occurring. UA will be taking the highest level of securities from now on. However, we are not sure if this will be the last attack. And we also have another announcement. Due to this attack, we are going to be moving all of you into dorms on campus. So don't be alarmed at the end of the week when you're forced to move in. You guys have 1 week to train for the UA Sports Festival and pack up all your stuff to move in. Good luck. You're dismissed. Aizawa says this as all of the students stand up. They were expecting a normal week of class, but now that's completely changed. Now it's all of a sudden time for the UA Sports Festival? What the heck? Many of them think to themselves as Aizawa leaves them there. They all rush off home to start packing their belongings, many excited but also some scared. They are now moving on to UA's campus all of a sudden? I guess that will make it safer, but still, when are they going to be able to see their families? Many of them tell their families the news as they begin packing their bags and training for the UA Sports Festival. A week comes and goes extremely fast as all of them walk into school the next day. Alright, class. You know what time it is. Head off towards the Coliseum. You'll be competing in the first event in 1 minute and 30 exactly. Aizawa gives a smug look as all of the students stand up in surprise. What? The sports festival starts in 1.5 minutes? That's not even enough time to get there. We're not even going to be able to pass the first event. Many of them say in complete shock and in horror. All of their chances of getting scouted for hero internships gone completely out the window. As all of them stand up completely shocked, just in awe. What? Clock's ticking, Aizawa says slyly with a smug grin on his face as the rest of the students slam the sliding door open and rush out the door. They cannot lose. This is their opportunity to show the world what they have. Izuku jumping down each stairwell as he makes it outside and jumps off, flying off into the distance, racing towards that Coliseum. He hears cheers and Just loud eruptions from the crowd as Izuku lands in the middle of the Coliseum. He sees that the race has already begun. Students rushing off as the entire Coliseum is wondering, where is Class 1A? As Izuku lands in the middle of the Coliseum, the entire crowd erupts into loud cheers. They are all shocked. Bakugo and Todoroki both come in right after Izuku, as Midnight points them towards the entrance. The race has begun, you three. I better get started if I were you. The three of them instantly look towards each other before rushing off, the crowd giving one last final cheer and eruption before the three of them make it out of the Coliseum. They go through each obstacle with ease. However, they make it towards the last obstacle in the race. It is 3 giant robots that nobody could seem to get past. The same robots from the hero portion of the entrance exam were staring down all of our big 3 for the first years, as well as all of the rest of the students that had managed to start before any of Class 1A, none of the students managing to find a way to get around them. Izuku smirks before jumping ahead. You know what I can do, he says with a smug smirk on his face, jumping up, his eyes glowing green as he slices one of the robots clean in half as the 2 halves fall down. Bakugo jumping forward, sending an explosion into the face of another as Todoroki sends an iceberg through the other. The 3 take down the robots as they jump forward once more, finishing the exam in first, second, and third, respectively. The crowd sees the 3 that had started late managing to finish first, second, and third as they erupt, cheering. This is what they wanted. This is the level of excitement that they knew they would get with the UA Sports Festival. As the rest of the students trickle on in, we see it is now time for the cavalry battle. Izuku chooses his team very similar to that of the original My Hero Academia timeline, with Ida, Uraraka, and Mei Hatsume. And with the 10 million point headband, they are going to get targeted. Izuku looks around, looking towards many of the other competitors as he looks up towards the crowd. It seems as though many of them are staring at him. Perfect, he thinks to himself. This is his perfect opportunity to get so many people just on his back, on him, hoping for him to succeed. As Izuku stands there and the horn sounds, all of the other cavalry look towards him, look towards his team. This is going to be interesting, Izuku and his entire team thinks. They ready themselves as they get rushed instantly, everybody reaching and gunning towards that 10 million point headband, all wanting to be the ones to succeed. They reach out in hope, trying to get that headband, but Izuku doesn't let him. His fast reflexes easily managing to dodge everybody's quick advances towards that headband. As Izuku does this, he also manages to snag as many headbands as he can, knowing that if these people keep seeing others lose their headbands, then they're gonna end up having to back off. If they keep losing headbands, they're not gonna pass, and they're certainly not gonna pass going after Izuku. So Izuku continues doing this slowly, one by one, team after team loses hope, going after each other, gunning for each other's headbands. With that, the horn sounds and Izuku's team, lo and behold, finds themselves in first. Izuku hears cheers and chants erupt from the crowd as the rest of the students go off into their respective locker rooms. They all sit down, looking towards one another. Izuku looks towards Bakugo and Bakugo towards Todoroki, eyeing each other. This was their chance to finally prove themselves the top dog of the first years. They look on towards the TV screen as they see the tournament bracket appear on the screen. Izuku stares on towards his first matchup. Shinso, he says with a confused expression. Who Who the heck is Shinso? Izuku says, completely and utterly confused and startled by this person that he'll be facing. It's me, he says with a cold, calloused expression. You'll be facing me. Oh, okay. Izuku says, completely weirded out by this person's almost lack thereof of emotion. With that, them being the first round up, Izuku and Shinso walk out of the locker room as they take their separate sides, taking the arena on opposite sides, facing each other. Shinso staring daggers at Izuku as Izuku looks up towards the crowd and waves, trying to play into the crowd, becoming that crowd favorite. He's flashy, he's just everything the crowd wants a hero to be. He smiles, waving his arms around. Everything Shinso despises with the first-year hero classes. He should be in those classes, not them. As Izuku walks up, the round begins with Shinso blurting out questions towards Izuku, with Izuku initially confused, Shinso asking all these random questions until Shinso finally says something that makes Izuku answer. What's with all you first-year heroes anyway? You're so arrogant. Why? Why do you guys despise any other class? What? We don't despise... Izuku's words stop in the middle of his sentence. Shinso smirks. Izuku is now brainwashed, being mind-controlled by Shinso. Go ahead and turn around for me and just walk out the arena. The crowd is shocked. They see Izuku instantly, his expression go cold and emotionless, his expression dark and gray on the Jumbotron as they see Izuku turn around, walking very slowly towards the end of the arena. The crowd gasps in shock and confusion. There's no way. This kid just finished first in both the two prior events and he's gonna go out this easy in the 1v1 battle? He's not even using his quirk. What's happening? Many of them pointing towards Shinso, wondering if he has a brainwashing quirk. They yelling, hoping that Izuku could turn around. He was the crowd favorite. All this hope building up inside Izuku. We cut to see Izuku in his own head, as if he's staring through his eyes like it's a movie screen. Come on, Izuku. Get out of this mind control. He says desperately, wanting to get out of it, as he sees his legs stepping closer and closer towards the end of the arena. Please, Izuku, come on, he pleads with himself, feeling all the people's hope building up inside of him. He feels his body start to shake. Come on, I got this, he says to himself, repeating it over and over again, as the crowd does as well, hoping Izuku to snap out of it. Come on, they hope and hope he will. And all of a sudden, it seems as though chains snap. They break, as Izuku's foot is one step away from touching the grass, his foot dangling over the edge of the arena. Come on, one last step, do it! Do it, I say, Shinso says, desperately trying to get Izuku to step over, but it's no use. Izuku broke free from the mind control. The hope for him was simply too strong. Izuku looks over his shoulder, look back at Shinso. He sighs. That's quite the trick you played on me. Too bad it's not gonna work again. Shinso's face gives one of shock and confusion. There's no way, he says, his voice raised. He takes a step back, stumbling off, barely catching himself before falling out of the arena himself, as Izuku jumps towards him, taking slow and steady steps, shaking his head. You're not going to be able to get me that easily now. Shinso begins barraging him with questions, trying to get him into mind control again. But it doesn't work. Izuku staring on towards him, taking step by step until he goes in. Shinso desperately throwing a punch towards Izuku's face, but Izuku dodges it, jumping down, ducking below it, and uppercutting Shinso right in the stomach. causing him to jump backwards out of the arena. Knocked out. He had been eliminated. The crowd erupts in cheers, chanting Izuku's name. Izuku, Izuku, they all yell in just excitement and in victory. Izuku had managed to do it, break free of the mind control. Izuku looks towards the Jumbotron as he sees Shinso's face get grayed out, with Izuku moving on to the next round. He walks off back towards the locker room as Bakugo and Todoroki look towards him, with Ito walking towards him as well. Congratulations, Izuku. But, might I ask, what made you start walking towards the exit? That purple-haired kid, Shinso, he has a mind control quirk. If you answer one of his questions, he can just completely control your mind and body. It's insane. I have no idea how he managed to do it. Everyone stands there in shock. Really? A mind control quirk? Well, I'm glad I didn't have to face him. I have no idea how you managed to break free of that, some of them say as Izuku nods his head. Yeah, I'm not quite sure myself, actually. We cut to see Bakugo and Todoroki's fights, easily knocking out their respective opponents, moving on as well. Same with Ida and even Uraraka. However, we end up seeing Izuku's next fight versus Todoroki. This is his chance to finally show everyone who he is. At least that's what Todoroki thinks. Izuku, on the other hand, knows he's coming into this with the crowd's favor, the crowd's hope. As not only is this going to be a battle for the ages, it's also a battle of hero sons. The son of the number 1 hero, All Might, and the son of the number 2 hero, Endeavor. Of course, the crowd doesn't know that, but Izuku does, and he can't let his father down. The two of them walk up onto the podium as Izuku looks towards Todoroki. Todoroki's cold grimace looks towards Izuku as he paces back and forth. I'm not gonna let you beat me this easily this time, Todoroki says with a cold expression on his face. Endeavor, watching from the background, looks towards Izuku. Come on, Todoroki. Don't let that number 1 hero's freak of a son defeat you. Prove to me how powerful you always have been, Endeavor says, muttering under his breath. As the bell sounds, the two of them ready themselves, the crowd quiet. A hush rushing over the crowd. They look on, wondering what's going to happen, who is going to win. Izuku and Todoroki eyeing each other, waiting for the first move, as Todoroki begins gliding towards Izuku as if he's skating on his ice, before sending a massive iceberg right at Izuku, coming in right for his chest, the jaggedy, sharp ice barreling on towards him. However, Izuku manages to dodge, taking a roll out of the way before jumping right at Todoroki, grabbing his chest, slamming him down towards the floor. Todoroki reaches out his hand, reaching towards him, trying to send ice at him, but it's no use. So he erupts his one side in flames, sending Izuku jumping backwards as Todoroki sends a tornado of fire, coming right on towards Izuku. He looks on in complete and utter shock as it comes flying at him. However, he jumps up and over this tornado, his eyes glowing green as he sends a giant laser spewing from his eyes right at Todoroki that he barely manages to dodge, Izuku cutting the arena in half with how powerful his laser was. He lands back down with his fist on the floor, sending a small crater right into the arena. The arena destroyed as Todoroki looks towards him, sending on more ice, but Izuku just punches through it, his strength stronger than ever, the crowd on the edge of their seats. This is amazing, many of them think to themselves. Izuku rushing in towards Todoroki. Todoroki does everything he can to keep Izuku back at bay. Each and every iceberg he sends at him, Izuku flicks away with ease. It's no use. Todoroki, seeing this, knows that he can't win this by just using his ice. So he comes in, gliding at Izuku, hoping to blindside him before sending a giant torrent of fire coming and blazing on towards Izuku. Izuku, seeing this, knows that he can't block this one and decides to take it. A smoke and fog fills the entire arena as Izuku barely manages to dodge the fire. The crowd gasps in anticipation, looking on, looking for who is still conscious, who is still in the arena, and who had won. As Todoroki looks around, the fire doing the opposite of what he wanted, giving Izuku cover, as we see Izuku's glowing eyes appear right behind Todoroki. As the glowing eyes beam into Todoroki's back, we hear him yell out in pain as the crowd looks and listens intently, wondering what is going on down there. However, as the clouds and fog and smoke clear, we see Izuku standing over Todoroki's body. He knocked Todoroki out. A giant hole in Todoroki's uniform laid on his back, with a giant burn mark on the back of Todoroki as well, completely knocking Todoroki out. The crowd once again erupts in cheers, extremely excited at the amazing battle they had just witnessed, as Izuku walks back towards the locker room with the medics taking care of Todoroki, taking him off to Recovery Girl's office. We see Uraraka and Ida's fights go on, with Ida eventually winning before he would fall to Bakugo, leading Bakugo to fight Izuku in the final match. Izuku walks up onto the podium, looking towards Bakugo. "Well, it seems we finally meet again, Bakugo," he says with a smirk on his face as Bakugo just shakes his head. "Shut it. I'll prove to you once and for all I'm stronger than you. Then you'll see who the top dog of UA really is." All Might and Endeavor both look on, looking towards this battle. Endeavor wishing it would have been Todoroki, but knowing that this will still surely be interesting, hoping that Izuku loses so that neither the first or second ranked hero's son wins. All Might, however, looks towards Bakugo and shakes his head. This could get really ugly, and fast. Nezu, sitting next to him, puts a hand on his knee. "I wouldn't be so sure, old friend. I quite honestly believe Izuku's not gonna take any time toying with Bakugo this match. I think we might actually get to see Izuku go all out this time." "For Bakugo's sake, I sure hope not." The match begins as Bakugo comes barreling at Izuku, explosions and fists cocked at the ready, sending explosion after explosion right on towards Izuku. Izuku barely manages to dodge as Bakugo comes in, looking towards him, looking at him in anger and in disgust. This will be his time to shine, the time he finally wins and takes Izuku out. Izuku dodges each one of the explosions. He is on the defensive. Bakugo, heavily sweaty from the prior matches, had been building up all of his sweat to use on Izuku. He knew he couldn't run out in the battle, or it would mean a surefire end to his hopes. He comes in rushing at Izuku, not giving him any time to spare or even think about what his next moves will be. Jumping in right at Izuku, sending explosion after explosion at him. And it's working. It's sending Izuku back. Slowly but surely, Izuku is taking damage. All Might, Nezu staring on in intent and in shock. They weren't expecting this. Izuku needs something to change the tides. Izuku looking on towards Bakugo as Bakugo comes flying at him once again, sending even more explosions at him. However, Izuku finally gets an opening, jumping over Bakugo and elbowing him right in the back, right in the spine. Bakugo's knees crumble beneath him as Izuku grabs hold of Bakugo's head, lifting him up. Bakugo's seen squirming in Izuku's grip as Izuku holds him up to the crowd as if he was some sort of villain doing a public execution. He holds him up to the crowd as Bakugo continues squirming before reaching his fist back, trying to send an explosion back towards Izuku, but Izuku ducks below it, dodging, jumping back, flicking his hand, the one that was holding Bakugo's head, sending Bakugo flying upwards. Izuku braces himself, grabbing the ground before jumping up towards Bakugo, sending a shockwave behind him. Bakugo looks on, his hands ready to send explosions at him, but Izuku's gone. He had just seen Izuku jump off towards him. He can't be that fast, can he? Bakugo's thoughts are interrupted. Izuku punches him right in the back again, sending him flying towards the ground. However, Izuku's there, volleying him up like he's some sort of volleyball, before Izuku is seen right above him again, spiking him right towards the ground and the arena. As Bakugo slams into the hard concrete, his teeth chipped as blood forms, circulating out of his mouth. He is unconscious. Izuku has won. The crowd jumps up from their seats and cheers. Yes! They all cheer. Izuku, Izuku, they say, as Izuku pumps his fist in the air. He is becoming that symbol of peace, taking that throne from his father. All Might smirks, happy, smiling from his son. That's the way to show him. That's the way to live up to your All Might and almighty blood, he says, giving a cringe-worthy joke as Nezu just smiles, shakes his head with his hand on his temple. You're quite the comedian, All Might, he says in a sarcastic tone as he laughs. We cut to see Izuku walking back to the locker room with his classmates, congratulating him as we see it is now time for Izuku to take the podium. Both Todoroki and Bakugo had managed to recover, as Bakugo is standing there slouched and in pain on the second place side of the podium, with Todoroki on the third, while Izuku mounds the first place spot, the highest one. He pumps his fist in the air with one last eruption from the crowd. They all cheer once more. We see all of the students walking back, the sun setting, as they make it back towards the classroom. Aizawa standing there, looking towards them. Congratulations, all of you. Many of you performed quite exceptionally at the sports festival, and I am extremely proud of all of you once again. All of your stuff has been moved into the dorms, so you don't have to worry about it. We had a couple of pro heroes take care of it during the sports festival. In your rooms, however, there's going to be letters for all of you for internships with different heroes. I expect all of you to look through the list of heroes and to take it, and take each one wisely. With that, have a good night. Good job, everybody, Aizawa says with a smile, a rare occurrence from him. They all walk off, looking towards where the dorms are, many of them rushing off in excitement, especially Mina. She slides in, rushing through the dorms, looking on in awe. She looks back towards her class. This is amazing, you guys, hurry up, she says, rushing in. They walk in, admiring the dorms, before they would go on and tour each one's dorms after a couple hours of decorating. That night, we see Izuku's room illuminated by just a small lit lamp on his desk. He shuffles through the mounds of internships that he had managed to receive. None three more apparent than Gran Torino's, Nideye's, and Endeavor's. Of course, he didn't get one from his father, as his father was a little too cautious and believed that'd be too obvious. So, as Izuku looked towards it, he ends up picking out Gran Torino's. He knew Night Eye very well, as it was his father's sidekick for a while, but decided that he didn't really want to be the sidekick of his own father's. He wants to forge his own legacy, one in the path of All Might's shadow, before erupting strong as a sun, creating another shadow for someone else to walk behind him in. And because of that, Izuku turns down Night Eyes, and Endeavors, of course, turns that one down as well. It would have been a little too scummy to take that one as his father's arch rival. So he just shook his head no, taking the Gran Torino one. As Izuku walks in, we see Gran Torino basically just sitting on a couch, telling Izuku that he needs to get him something from the fridge and to heat it up. Izuku looks on confused. Okay? Shouldn't you be helping me with learning hero stuff? Izuku says, confused. What else do you need to know? The only reason I gave this internship with you, not even a job, was because I knew you practically already knew everything, and I wouldn't have to do much. Come, sit down. Izuku looks towards Gran Torino as he sits down next to him. Your father was straight the strong hero, and I expect nothing more from you as well. However, look, I've seen you fight, and you've been training with UA and their teachers. You know a lot. However, the biggest takeaway from my teachings is going to be don't be arrogant. Please, just don't be arrogant. Me, Night Eye, and of course your father, all three of us, we've seen heroes die at the hands of their own arrogance. And I just couldn't take that for you either. Izuku nods his head. However, instantly, the doors of Gran Torino's home gets smashed in. Onomu staring mindlessly on, scanning the room before locking in on Izuku, jumping towards him. Gran Torino jumps back, using his quirk to send a fast flurry of kicks right towards the Nomu, giving them enough time. Grabbing Izuku's hand, rushing out the door. What the hell was that? He says as Izuku sees the same looking Nomu, a very similar one, just a different color to that of the one from the USJ. There's no way. They reach the road as they see tens of hundreds more Nomus scattered across Hosu. This is bad. This is really bad, Izuku says, his heart pounding. Kid, what do you mean? These Nomus, they rival the strength of my father. Gran Torino's gaze shifts, his eyebrows lifting up. What? What did you say? You heard me. Their strength, it's that of All Might's. There's no way. Hundreds of them? Oh no. There's no way they could have been this strong. They are, Izuku says, his mouth and words stuttering. He cannot believe this. This could be the end of Japan, the end of the age of heroes. The Nomu that had broken into Gran Torino's office jumps back, reaching towards Izuku, reaching towards him as Izuku jumps back as well, going back, grabbing Gran Torino as they fly up onto the rooftop of a nearby building. Okay, so, from what I've gathered, these things, their brains, the brains that you see on the outside of them, if you can manage to hit that, just with anything, they die. That's the way they can die. Simple as that, just hit their brain. Gran Torino nods their head as they jump back down. The Nomus turning towards the two of them, making a scene. As we look up towards the horizon of the city, fire and smoke erupt the skyline, completely filling it. As hero after hero arrives, Gran Torino yells towards them, "Aim for the brains! The brains, I say!" As many of the pro heroes are struggling with the immense number and strength of each of these Nomus. As Izuku and Torino end up fighting each one of these Nomus, Izuku aiming his green lasers towards the Nomu's brains, frying it, but there isn't nearly enough people around and looking at him for his eyes to fry it fast. It takes a good 5 seconds of cooking for them to even do anything. My Quirk's no good here. I wish I was a little bit more flashy, Izuku says as Torino shakes his head. There's no time for that. Come on, he says, rushing off towards a bigger group of Nomus. However, Izuku gets blindsided by a Nomu's punch, sending him flying across the city. They needed to separate the two of them, and they had managed to do just that. Izuku lands in a calmer part of the city, one away from the major battle. However, this city wasn't the best. It was, say, a rougher neighborhood. As Izuku walks each alleyway, looking intently, looking on, hoping he doesn't end up finding anything that he's going to regret, he ends up seeing his friend, Ida, standing there, his back towards the wall, as the hero killer Stain takes steps coming closer towards him. Ida, he says as the hero killer looks on towards Izuku, looking at his hero costume. My, what do we have here? Another hero coming in for the glory of taking down the hero killer. No way, Izuku says under his breath, Ida shaking his head. Get out of here, Izuku! Get out of here! This isn't your fight. I got myself into this mess. I can get myself out. Izuku shakes his head. No, Ida. No, I'm a hero. I can't just leave you here to die. Please, Izuku, please. Don't become another casualty to the hero killer, he says as his blood causes him to get knocked out. We see 2 very large stab wounds on on Ida's stomach. Izuku looks towards Stain, shocked. Why? Why are you doing this? This world, it's filled with scum heroes like you. Look how flashy your outfit is. It's clear you're only doing this for fame and for money. No, you've got this all wrong. You think you're some kind of hero by stopping the corrupt. But you're no better. You're still just a lousy villain. No matter what, killing is never the right answer. Stain looks at him. You're wrong. Jumping at him, slashing his swords towards Izuku. However, Izuku barely manages to dodge it. You have to see through everything. See through the wrong that you're doing. But Stain just shakes his head, laughing. Please. What I'm doing is right, you know. Izuku, with no one's hope with him, he's practically useless. His quirk is nothing. All he has is his reflexes. And just no swords either. He brought fists to a sword fight, and Izuku is going to suffer for that. He looks at Stain, readying his fist as Stain rushes him once more. Izuku trying and dodging all of his attacks. However, it's no use. Eventually, he ends up getting sliced as Stain licks his blood, paralyzing Izuku right in the spot he stood. Stain laughs, standing up from his slouched position. See, he points his sword back towards Ida and the random hero that he also was managing to defeat. You're no better than those two, especially power-wise. You went down even easier than them, might I say. I don't even know what your quirk is. Having a flashy costume like that, it's pitiful. Very pitiful. Izuku struggling against the paralysis of Stain's knives as he walks and steps closer and closer towards Izuku. Izuku's struggling and struggling, trying to break free. However, nothing seems to work. Nothing at all. However, a fire is starting to burn within him, a fire to unlock a new ability. Self-hope. His hope for himself. Come on, Izuku, come on. He pleads with himself. You can do this, you can do this, you can break free. You're not going down. The Son of All Might is not going down like this. He breaks free from the paralysis. His self-hope, a flame within him, burning brighter than ever. I'm not losing this fight, he says, his eyes glowing green, slicing, his piercing eye beams and lasers, slicing right through the hero killer's swords, cutting them in half. The hero killer looks on towards his jaggedy, just destroyed blades, jumping at Izuku, trying to slash him, but Izuku punches him in the face, right into a dumpster. The hero killer tries to stand up once more, but Izuku punches him down once again. The hero killer tries to get up, but it's no use. With the hero killer subdued, Izuku goes and looks towards Ida's injuries. He reaches down towards them, feeling the wounds as he realizes they are not fatal, but he calls an ambulance anyway. After that, the ambulance arrives, rushing Ida and Izuku off towards the hospital to get their wounds checked out. The Hosu incident goes very similarly to how it did in the actual anime, with the heroes being able to take them all out, successfully allowing all of them to save as many lives as possible. We cut to see Nezu sitting around a table full of teachers. He's thinking, this can't quite be good. All of these attacks, they just keep happening and keep happening. I don't know what to do. Something big is being planned, and I just don't like it, Nezu says, shaking his head. We fast forward a couple weeks as Ida and Izuku heal up, as it's now time for the final exams. Funnily enough, Izuku and Todoroki are placed up against All Might for their final exam teacher. Izuku and Todoroki look on, staring towards the feat that they're going to have to do. Throughout his internship, he had managed to open up at least a little bit to where Izuku and him could manage to plan. The number 1 and 2 heroes had sons, and they were now going to fight the number 1 hero. As they run into the city, their plan was to basically try to corner All Might, with Todoroki freezing his legs and Izuku would wrap tape around him. However, this plan would quickly go out the window, as All Might, in his villain mode, would jump down and punch Todoroki right in the stomach, sending him flying back into a building. The crowd, or Izuku's class 1A, would gasp in shock. Wow, All Might's really going hard for this one, they would say, as All Might would look towards Todoroki once more, seeing if he would get up before focusing his energy on Izuku. Izuku knew that if he had strong enough hope in himself, and his class having strong enough hope as well, he could somehow manage to get the upper hand on All Might and take him down. Izuku trying to gain as much hope as possible, would jump back, waiting before his class and seeing them all staring on towards him. This was enough. Izuku jumped towards All Might, his fist ready, punching All Might right in the chest, but it didn't do anything. All Might, just like the Nomu, had absorbed the punch and began rapid fire, a flurry of punches right towards Izuku. Izuku would do the same, as each fist would meet their own counterpart, father and son fighting as hard as they could, almost as if it was a battle to the death. Each and every punch was not held back at all. Shockwaves would be sent flying, windows shattered, as the two would go punch for punch. Izuku now would jump back, Todoroki climbing out of the rubble. The two would nod their heads as Todoroki would send an iceberg around a building, the ice reaching and scattering through, trying to catch All Might by surprise. As All Might would go to jump up towards the two of them, he couldn't. His leg was stuck. He would begin shaking, trying to break free as the ice would slowly begin creeping up his hip. He would rotate, going to punch it, but it was too late. Izuku wrapped tape around his father's finger, giving both Izuku and Todoroki the victory. His class would cheer, congratulating the two of them, managing to beat All Might, especially All Might, the number one hero, was no easy feat, and they certainly didn't really expect them to do it, but they sure as hell had hope that they would. With that done and the rest of the class's finals done, every single member of the class had managed to pass. And with that, they all went back to the dorms to see a bus waiting there, along with Aizawa. Aizawa would tell all of them, "You have 15 minutes to pack a week's worth of clothes. We're going on a field trip. 15 minutes. If not, you're left behind and expelled," he says with a harsh tone. His class rushes back into their dorms, racing to pack as many clothes as possible, each one coming down as they pack the bus or the underside of the bus full of their luggage before racing off towards into the bus stop. After getting in the bus would barrel off towards the mountain for the forest training camp. As they would arrive, they would stop in the dead of night, all of the students tired and exhausted from their finals battles before. "Alright, here's the deal. You're gonna get off this bus, you're gonna climb this wall, and you're going to find your way to the training camp. If you can't manage to do it by sunrise, then, sucks to be you. I guess you won't get any sleep beginning with our training. So, have at it." He says as he rushes the bus off, rushing all of the students out of the bus as well. The students left there dazed and confused, yawning. What does he mean?" some of them say as they look up, an arrow pointing this way, right at the vertical wall of mud staring on towards them. There's no way he means we have to climb this, right? They say, just completely and utterly confused and in shock. Some of them sigh. Oh well. Alright, I guess we have to. They lazily begin climbing the mound of just rock and mud, trying to get to the top. This takes over an hour, and upon them reaching the top, they see that the training camp is nowhere in sight. They begin looking once more for it, but they cannot manage to find it. Izuku decides now would be the perfect time to jump up and use his flight, jumping around looking for where the training camp could be. He spots it over 1.5 miles northwest of where they were, as Izuku points them in that direction. "It's this way, guys," he says as they begin funneling off towards where he found it. Upon everyone getting there, they file into their designated bedrooms before very easily drifting off to sleep, all of them exhausted. However, it was 2 a.m. at this point, and they had to wake up in 4 hours to begin their Quirk training. With that, they wake up to a loud scum and drum of noise, with many of them turning over their pillow groaning. "Ugh, why couldn't I just get 15 more minutes?" some of them think to themselves. The Wild Kitty Cat hero group ends up greeting them all outside of the main dormitory of the camp. "Alright, Class 1A, you guys have around, 12 hours of hero training to do until dinner time. Get to it. We'll help all of you, but this is to make sure that all of you are in tip-top shape for heroing. Alright, let's go," they say, blowing a whistle, as all of Class 1A is just completely in shock. What? What are they talking about? We're training now? Many of them still in their pajamas as they get pushed off to begin training their Quirk. Izuku's training mainly consists of dealing damage with very little hope garnered towards him. As with so much hope, he is merely unstoppable. However, if he ever managed to lose this hope, he needs to make sure he is never blindsided by this. He needs to be prepared and prepared to use his attacks. So the kitty cats isolate Izuku away from anybody but himself. All he has is the self-hope inside of him. So they begin one-on-oneing Izuku each one by one. Due to Izuku's physical nature, they start him off like this so that he can get a grasp of it before turning him on to dealing damage to hard, giant, old oak trees that they knew wouldn't fall easily. I'll cut you some slack, Izuku. If you can manage to destroy 10 of these trees, you can have an hour break. With no hope exactly either. They tell him as Izuku begins trying this. The only hope within him is his own, and because of that, he doesn't have very much power. He'd only ever really experienced the self-hope thing in desperation versus the hero killer Stain, and because of that, he wasn't exactly sure how he was gonna manage to deal any damage. He can't really just awaken that a second time. So as Izuku struggles to break down these 10 trees, we see the sun grow over the horizon before setting in the distance. It is now nighttime. We see a horn sound as the students begin making their way back towards the training camp, but because many of them were so scattered and spread out, they were miles away. The perfect distance for a villain attack, especially because all of the students are extremely exhausted. The villains appear and attack them with ease, easily incapacitating many of them. Toga easily taking out Uraraka and Asui, knocking them out cold. Izuku looks rushing on, meeting up with Bakugo and Todoroki before Bakugo is almost just like sort of controlled. Both him and Todoroki are encapsulated in some sort of marble as Mr. Compress jumps down from a tree, swooping the two of them up before jumping off again. Izuku leaps towards him, flying towards him. However, as Mr. Compress gets farther and farther away, Izuku's hope in himself, something he had just managed to do once again, was diminishing. His speed was slowly decreasing, almost like he put his car in neutral and it was slowly rolling to a stop. No, now is not the time. Now is not the time to lose hope, he says as he falls to the ground, landing in a bush. Bakugo and Todoroki, quickly, almost blindsided by this out of nowhere, were captured and are now taken hostage. Izuku, falling down, walks back towards the training camp as Aizawa is in full panic mode, telling the rest of his students to stay there while him and the kitty cats go around and try and find every single one of the other students that are remaining. We see Aizawa carrying both Uraraka and Asui back towards them as he shakes his head no in regards to Bakugo and Todoroki. They had been captured. The class looks on, looking all in shock and confused. There's no way. Bakugo was captured? And Todoroki? I mean, they're two of the top students, and yet they got captured by these villains? That's insane. There's no way. We cut back to see the forest training camp had been canceled. All of the students now sitting in their dorms, awaiting the next steps from UA. UA begins planning, just like they did in the regular anime, they begin planning their attack of the League of Villains to recapture Bakugo and Todoroki. Meanwhile, while they're doing this, Izuku gathers up a group consisting of Ida and Kirishima and all of the students to go and end up rescuing both Bakugo and Todoroki. They can't sit idly by. They know that they were told to stay in their dorms until further notice, but they were going to sneak out and rescue their friends. If the heroes weren't going to do it, they were. So with that, we cut to see the League of Villains trying and pleading with both Bakugo and Todoroki that maybe, just maybe they should switch sides, become villains, and become some of the most powerful villain underlings the world has ever seen. But Bakugo being Bakugo and Todoroki being Todoroki, they were not having it. Never in a million years would they switch sides to join some lowlifes that had attacked their friends on multiple occasions. All of a sudden, a giant kick comes right through the door. Mount Lady, Kamui Woods uses his wood, capturing all of the villains inside there as Shigaraki touches the wood, disintegrating it, allowing it to decay around him. He jumps around, going for his friends as another kick comes flying through the door. Mount Lady peels off the roof of the bar, reaching in, grabbing some of the League of Villains like their toys, like their action figures, reaching down as other heroes come flying in. A portal appears as Nomus begin spewing out of it at another area of the city. All for One stands up. It seems the heroes for once have forced my hand. I'll give it to them. I'm quite surprised. However, they're not going to be able to do anything this time, he says, standing up, releasing hundreds of Nomus across the city as Shigaraki and the League of Villains are pretty much captured until he appears through a portal, All for One's essence emanating throughout the building. Mount Lady tries to jump back, but he quickly silences her with these tendrils spewing out of his fingers, cutting through her arms and her legs, sending her back into a building. Kamui Woods tries to stop him as well, but All for One easily incapacitates him as well, allowing for his underlings to be released. All of a sudden, however, Izuku comes swooping in with Ida and Kirishima holding his hands as they come in yelling, "Todoroki, Bakugo, grab our hands!" They yell as the two of them reach up, barely being able to within their restraints as they are grabbed, released from the League of Villains' control. With no more hostages, many more heroes racing in to take care of the League of Villains. With Shigaraki not being as powerful, Best Jeanist easily wraps his threads around Shigaraki's chest and his arms, clearly wrapping around his fingers, ensuring that his fingertips can't touch anything and can't decay anything. With that, All Might jumps down, staring across the battlefield at All for One. "We meet again, old friend. Now, are you ready to have your life ended short, just like I did to your master, Nana Shimura?" "Don't say that name," All Might says coldly, yelling out towards All for One. "This time, you won't be so lucky. Your time ends now, All for One." All for One laughs, lifting up his hands, looking down callously and coldly towards All Might. "Please, that won't be necessary. That won't be necessary at all." Tendrils, electricity erupts from his fingertips, racing towards All Might as All Might dodges, jumping at All for One, going in for a punch. The world stands on their feet, looking on as a news helicopter places a spotlight down on the final two. Izuku stands from behind the rubble, looking at his father, hoping that his father can do it. Come on, Dad, come on," he says, looking at the final user of One for All, and hopefully the final All for One user. The two of them exchange blows and exchange punches as each of them go punch for punch, trying to hit a fatal attack, but nothing works. All For One jumps back, slamming his hand down onto the ground as the ground erupts forward. Somehow, someway, he had managed to gain the overhaul Quirk. The ground splitting, rupturing towards All Might, trying to grab him, fracturing, but it doesn't work. All Might jumping through the rubble, goes in and punches All For One's mask, shattering it. Many people at home watching their TV screens, watching on the edge of their seats, cheering up, jumping up. Come on, All Might, come on, they plead, not wanting their favorite hero, their symbol, to die now, and to die at the hands of this villain. They're all staring on, pleading, hoping for All Might to take care of him, as All Might jumps and jumps towards him, reaching out his fist, going punch for punch, until blood splatters behind him. A fist comes right through All Might's stomach. No! Izuku yells, jumping towards All For One, his fists at the ready, jumping in, punching him, slamming him into a building behind as he reaches his father. His father stands up, a hole right in the bottom of his stomach area. His blood peers out of the hole along with his mouth. He coughs. It's okay, Izuku. It's okay. He tries and winces at the pain. I can still fight. No. Let me fight for you. I can. No. It's too dangerous for that, Izuku. It's too dangerous. I have to finish this. I have to, he says, jumping towards All For One. Izuku doing it with him. Father and son fighting the final villain, the final battle, as they go in and punch Hisashi down, punching him, kicking and kicking, trying anything that works. The audience hopes and hopes until another blow lands right on All Might's weak spot. Blood spews out of him faster than ever before as he falls to his knees. All For One begins laughing. I told you, All Might. This battle is over. One for all is no more, he says, lifting up his arms and laughing. All Might falling down to his knees, Izuku's strength depleting rapidly. I'm losing hope. The crowd, everyone's losing hope. All Might falls down to his knees, blood rushing and pooling beneath him as he points to Izuku. Now it's your turn, he says, his eyes roll back as he slumps to the ground, dead. Izuku yells, No! 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 Izuku says, shaking his head, This can't be true, this can't be. You have to live, you have to, he says, tears spewing out of his eyes. All For One begins clapping. Your father is dead, boy. And now, just like he told you, it's your turn to die. Izuku stops him. He yells out towards the helicopter, Don't give up hope! Please, don't give up hope, Izuku says, pleading. Have faith in me. I can defeat him. You just need to have faith. Please. If you're watching at home, if you're standing there and you don't believe, please believe in me. Have hope that I can do it. Izuku stands up again, his muscles bulging, the strength gathering within him. Everyone at home pleading, praying that Izuku can do it, that he can win, hoping that he can. Izuku smiles as All For One takes a step back. There's no way. You were weak. How are you getting all this power? The audience. Everybody. All those people watching at home. They have hope in me to defeat you. And so I am, he says, as he jumps in, punching All For One right in the head. This is for everyone you killed. He punches him again. This is for all the people, the innocent people you've hurt or stolen Quirks from. And this is for my dad, he says, punching a hole right through All For One's stomach, killing him instantly. Izuku stands over All Might's body along with All For One's as he raises his bloody fist into the air in defiance in just a moment of solitude as his hair covers his eyes, tears pouring out as everybody at home cheers. They lost All Might, they lost a battle, but they didn't lose the war. And that is where I am going to leave off What If Deku Had a Hope Quirk. I thank you all for watching. I hope you all did really enjoy this What If. It was extremely fun to record. I thank you all for watching. Please make sure to comment your What If suggestions down in the comment sections below and to join the channel Discord that is in the description. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.